I'm hoping this video will prevent someone out there from making the same boneheaded mistake I did, or if you did make the same mistake I did, that there's a way to fix it. So I drained my hot water heater. I have a Reliance 55 standard 55 gallon hot water heater here. You're supposed to drain it once a year, which, you know, for being honest, it had been a couple years. So I drained mine, got all the sediment out of it, and I started filling it back up, and I flipped my breaker back on before it was full all the way. I'm guessing it was maybe only half full, but what I learned later after researching it is that because the water had only filled up maybe halfway, the element here, my top element, my upper element, was not in the water, and because it wasn't, it shorted, or I don't know what it did, but I heard a pop, and I was like, huh, that was weird, and I didn't think of anything of it. And then a couple hours later, my wife was like, yeah, there's still no hot water. So I learned that I blew out that element, and this is what it looks like afterward. So this hot water heater is probably 7 or 8 years old, so the element was already pretty old. Here's the bottom element that I took out and replaced anyway. But as you can see, I fried that thing pretty good because I turned my hot water heater breaker back on before the water had completely gotten filled up to the top. So that's what happens. Fun fact. So it's not a big job to replace the elements. It's just more of a pain in the butt. You do have to get an element wrench like this. It's a 1.5 inch wrench. I picked this up at the hardware store for 10 bucks or something. And then it's really a 10-minute job from there. My tank was already drained. And then you just take these two wires off that one. And I replaced my bottom one, even though it was fine. I tested it with a multimeter, and that one was still okay, but I was like, while I'm here, I'll replace both. So you just take your wrench, well, first you take the wires off, the 2 wires, take your wrench, take that one off. I put a little silicone grease on the gasket. There's a rubber gasket around the element. I put a little silicone grease on, and then just screw the new one back in. Don't over tighten it. That gasket's pretty thick. I really feel like you don't need to over tighten it too much. And then you just put your 2 wires back on, and bam, $40, $50 later, your boneheaded mistake is repaired.